Everyone ready for some rapid fire?
Yep.
Let's do this. Excellent. First of all, if I can throw back to Women's Federation for World Peace as our first panellist for this session. Could you introduce yourself and tell us about your organisation?
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Anne Bellavance. I'm the national president, and we're an international NGO. The amazing thing about us is that worldwide we are all volunteers. And in Australia, 100% we are all volunteers. We have 3 chapters in Australia, and I also am the regional president as well. Our global themes for this year, we have 4. Women, peace and security, and we address that through our Women's Fed International UN Regional Office, where we advocate for Clare's Law as a response, not a band-aid response, but a before-problem response for family violence, and we do that with our partners. The second global theme is women's leadership through our Global Women's Peace Network. And we also have a mentor program for emerging leaders. This year our theme is Confident Her. And the GWPN National Assembly is coming up towards the end of May. The third global theme is our global development aid and service projects, and we have those projects in the Pacific Islands. Within our region, we work with our sister chapters in the Pacific, and we support women going to university who would never, ever, ever have the opportunity. People don't understand how people live in the Pacific Islands. They are really developing nations. There are many places there's no electricity. Education is not free. There is absolutely no Centrelink. And so we help women achieve dreams they would never imagine they could achieve. And we know if you lift up one woman, she raises up the whole community. We also have microcredit training programs and microcredit loans for women who would like to start a business and who don't qualify with the banks for loans. We also deliver books for libraries in primary schools because there just are no libraries in schools, let alone libraries in the national capital of each nation. So that's the third one. And the fourth one is supporting women and families. And we have many local activities. We have environment campaigns and Way to Happiness and peace-building seminars, working partnership with other organisations for mental health and well-being. And we have a Pacifica Festival, Melbourne Pacifica Festival in December, working with our Pacific Islanders. So that's our themes, and we incorporate our activities into those themes.
Amazing. Thank you. And do you have a highlight from your time of volunteering? Is there something that sticks out in your mind?
I think the highlight is working with amazing women. Really, the vision and mission of what we are trying to do, one family at a time, raising up women. It attracts a certain type of people, and we have an executive team who are all volunteers, and they're multicultural, all different backgrounds. We have state advisory committees that are also from all different backgrounds, especially migrant women, professional women as well, who are looking for advancement and understanding our culture in Australia, they come along and they get involved in our committees. And through our state advisory committees, then we have different committees for different projects. So working with these women is such exceptional. Most of them work full time, and then they're still able to give back to the community, and it just blows me away.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Team from each, I'm going to head over to you now. Can you introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what each does in the community?
Sure. So my name's Kelly Cassidy. I'm the Workforce Inclusion and Diversity Lead. So our actual superstar is Pauline, that's here. She works directly with, but she did want to come on stage. So I'm going to tell you all about our program. Each is allied health, not-for-profit organisation that started off in the eastern suburbs and has grown to deliver services across Australia. Our volunteer program has up to 400 volunteers, all of which Pauline single-handedly manages, and the programs that we deliver range from like our Chinese peer support, Gamblers Help programs. It could be working, in a whole range. There's a whole range. But I think what we've noticed the most is, since COVID, a change in the age demographic of our volunteers and the reasons why people want to volunteer. And what we're trying to do is co-create experiences with volunteers to ensure that their needs are met and their motivations and the reasons that they want to volunteer, they're getting something out of it so that they can ensure that they're passionate about the work that they're doing and it's meaningful for them and not just volunteering. And I think, Paul's has mentioned that one of her greatest highlights is seeing that these youth come and do volunteering and, they get a chance to try before they buy. And one of her greatest highlights is seeing the career progression from a volunteer to a job in a field that they love.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. You preempted my next question. So that was the highlight. Is there any barriers that present themselves regularly that you're really working hard to overcome?
Yes, absolutely. Our main barrier is compliance, and that's due to a whole range of issues, but primarily with our funding obligations and requirements. But we try to overcome this by working one-to-one with the volunteers, and if they do have hurdles in gaining their compliance, or whether that's through a lack of language or a lack of experience, we work one-on-one with them, or Paul's does, to coach them through the process to overcome that hurdle or that barrier. We also try to have strong advocacy to make sure that those barriers are reduced as much as we do for the rest of our paid workforce.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for that. Can I ask if we can please pass the microphones to Yarra Valley ECOS and Interchange Outer East? Here we go. And we're going to start down with Yarra Valley ECOS. And I've been wondering in my head all... Yep, great, excellent. That's good. Can you introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about what your organisation does?
Sure. Hi, I'm Chelsea. I'm the Executive Officer of Yarra Valley ECOS. And it's really hard to describe because we don't have a single focus. We do a lot. ECOS really stands for Ecological and Social Sustainability. So we're a 16-acre permaculture design property in Wesburn, and there we sort of create a hub for lots of not-for-profits to operate out of. As well as that, we run a lot of our own programs. And I guess the main program that would fit today that I could speak to, there's two really. One is Crops for Community, and Mel, who's up there, she runs the Crops for Community program. And it's a very meaningful and wonderful program. We get over 50 participants every week in the community garden, And they come from different organisations: Interchange Outer East, Melbourne Support Services, individual NDIS participants, and over 55s work for the dollar, a whole lot of different organisations. And they come along and they grow food for 2 food relief organisations that we chose. We chose Una Indigenous Tucker Bag Program because we wanted to know that we're doing a daily active reconciliation action. And Koha Community Cafe, which is like it's a pay-as-you-feel cafe in Warburton, close by. And in that, you know, it's also about therapeutic horticulture and upskilling and bringing community together. And you know, we're pretty invested in food security in other areas. So really the community garden for Cropster Community is a really social space, but we have volunteers growing food in other areas and testing things like biochar, which is a carbon drawdown method, to try and work actively towards education and advancement in environmental sustainability. We also have a native nursery where the participants volunteer in there. We have lots of cohorts of volunteers, and so we've curated an annual event schedule that is like First Nations, multicultural, youth, and just permaculture environment, and that seems to attract all their own volunteers for each one of those. And one more thing is upcycles. So every Saturday we created a program looking at the gaps in areas for inclusion, and that Upcycles is a bicycle upcycling hub where we collect discarded bikes and do them up for donation or sale for very little amount, and that really attracts youth and parents as a mentorship program. And then we calculate the carbon drawdown from how many bikes we've saved from landfill. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. What's your highlight out of all of those incredible things you're doing? What's your favourite?
I think I get a kick out of... There's a lot of not-for-profits that operate out of the space, so not necessarily what we do. I mean, I love it all, and there's highlight, but really seeing other groups thrive because of the interaction with the space, such as Yarra Valley B Group, Permaculture Yarra Valley, Warburton Environment, Upper Yarra Land Care, they're all based there. And the connection and cross-collaboration through the provision of the space and the interaction with people living with disabilities that wouldn't happen normally. So I think that's,
Yeah,
getting
fantastic.
organic good food on the plate.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Over to Interchange Outer East. Can you introduce yourself and your organisation, please?
Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Paolo. I'm one of the volunteer coordinators at Interchange Outer East. There's actually 2 of us, so my colleague Jenna is not here today because she's busy presenting at Upwey Secondary College. So we're a disability support provider, so we run a bunch of different services for children and young adults with disabilities. However, where our volunteers mainly come in is our recreation program. So on weekends and school holidays, we run a bunch of different activities and camps for children and young adults with disabilities. So in fact, I run these programs myself. Over the weekend, I was fortunate enough to take a children's group to stay overnight at Melbourne Zoo to do behind the scenes tours. Wow. It's really cool. So in terms of our focus, we recruit a lot of youth-aged volunteers. So the definition of youth being 25 and under, which is why Jenna is presenting at a high school at the moment. But not only that, we present to universities. We've got a partnership with ACU, for example, church groups, sport clubs, community groups. And whilst our focus is youth-aged volunteers, we accept volunteers from all walks of life. So we have some volunteers as young as teenagers in Year 7 up until people who are retired in their 60s and 70s. And the role of our volunteers is to hang out with our groups, the children, the young adults with disabilities, and they are there to provide them with social support, engagement, and interacting with them. And it really is all about making connections, having a good time, and sharing those experiences together.
Amazing. Now, I'm not sure I need to ask you about a highlight, because I'm not sure that it gets much better than a sleepover at the zoo.
Well, I've taken a group overseas, so that's pretty cool.
Amazing, amazing. Is there any other highlights you want to share with us while you've got the opportunity?
Yeah, so a lot of our volunteers give up their time and energy to help out and hang out with members of our groups, our communities. My highlight every year is running volunteer camps. As I said, we run activities, we run camps, we assist people with disabilities, and I love it when we can have a camp, a space where our volunteers can just hang out, socialise with each other, share these experiences together, and really it helps solidify our culture. And that's the biggest part of our organisation is our culture, and I feel so fortunate to be part of that.
I love that. That's a great response. That's a really great response. If I can ask very politely to pass the microphones, please, to Caledini Dementia Care and Manningham Whitehorse L2P program. And Caledini Dementia, I'm going to start with you. If you could introduce yourself, please, to the room and tell us a little bit more about your organisation.
Hi, I'm Sari Yates from Caledini Dementia Care. We're based in Murrelbach in the Yarra Ranges, but service people right across the outer eastern suburbs. We provide services and supports for up to 90 people living with dementia a week, as well as providing information, support, advocacy and services to the people who care for them at home. We're a service that provides recreation and social activities to the people living with dementia from diagnosis through to when they may need further assistance with residential care. So we're that interim bit. We're also unique in that we provide services for people with all ages and all stages of dementia. So people can come as soon as they're diagnosed, and unfortunately people are being diagnosed younger and younger. Our youngest person was 33 when he was diagnosed with dementia. We are more likely to see people in their 70s and 80s living with dementia. Our average age is 74, so that's come down in the 20 years I've been there from 82 or something. We utilise volunteers to assist us in all our programs, and like your program, they are there to hang out with the groups, to provide social support, to provide inclusion, to make sure everybody's included and nobody feels left out. We have a team of about 35 volunteers who assist our activity program staff and come to all our outings, all our social events, all our club days. We also are administered by a volunteer board of directors, and we've done a lot of work over the last couple of years to really upskill and bring in those diverse skills that we need to move forward into, the aged care reform and all the things that are coming up for us in the next couple of years. We've also been lucky enough to be able to introduce our Consumer Voice panel, which includes people living with dementia as volunteers, to advise us on decisions the board is making, future directions, strategic planning, new brochures, all that sort of thing. And as well as that, we've had people living with early dementia, so people who are very early in their diagnosis, coming on board as volunteers in the programs for people with more advanced dementia. They may have been carers in their career and that's a skill they have. They're not ready for care themselves, so they come in and still are able to assist us with those programs.
And brilliant work. Your favourite thing about your organisation? What do you love the most?
Oh my gosh. I love that we're an organisation that's been running for 42 years. We've got such a really rich history and an absolute determination to live up to the what our founder wanted us to be. But I also love that we are an agile and responsive organisation, able to respond to whatever gaps there are in community and respond to those appropriately.
Amazing. I love that. And it's so good to hear you connect that to the grassroots of why it was started in the first place. You haven't lost sight of why we're here, what our history is. Thank you so much for sharing. Manningham Whitehorse L2P program, you're up. Now, I have a 16-year-old at home and you deserve a medal. Honestly, I've only got one that I'm supporting through this period of crazy. But do you mind introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
My volunteers that need the medals. Yeah. My name's Isabel. I coordinate the L2P program for Manningham and Whitehorse. The L2P program is a statewide program, so you would find a local program near you, wherever you are. Our volunteers are the ones that are amazing. So the L2P program came about when learners were to get 120 hours of supervised driving hours, and not every young person has someone at home with a licence or a car. So our program is to support those young people. So our young people may live with someone that has a disability, they may live with grandparents that no longer drive, they may have been child protection, so no longer have an adult at home, all sorts of scenarios. And our volunteers are trained, and we have a whole heap of compliance issues as well, but they're all trained. Once they've been matched with a young person, they meet at the car that's supplied by the program, and they go out every week. They show up every week and meet that young person and get hours. And essentially it is a driving program, but it becomes much more than that. If you can imagine 120 hours with a young person in the car, it becomes much more about, you know, in an enclosed space where they're not making eye contact. Young people get very comfortable in that space and discuss all sorts of things, and our volunteers become much more mentor. They talk about, you know, life, what's happening for them, good news stories, sad news stories, help with resumes, help with job interview skills, all sorts of things. So it's an adult that shows up for them for every week, and sometimes these young people have never had that. So it's more about that engagement and that community, feeling part of a community.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Now, I wanted to ask you, because obviously young people come from a lot of different cultures, backgrounds, disadvantages, advantages, all of there's a whole big mixing pot of what you will find. So how do you make sure that you're recruiting volunteers that might be able to cater? You need diverse volunteers because you're working with incredibly diverse young people.
100%, and it is a challenge. It's an ongoing challenge. It's a difficult program to promote. A lot of people see driving and are terrified. And so it is a difficult program to promote. And I guess one of the things we try and do is we try and visit as many places as we can and promote the program, but we also offer lots of training on multicultural youth, on Indigenous studies, so all sorts of different groups. And we try and bridge that. But it is an ongoing challenge because a lot of, most of my volunteers are male. I think that's pretty typical of LTP programs. So we're always looking for female volunteers. But we also I have some very young volunteers that have just off one of the criteria is to be off your Ps. So I've got some young people that have just off their Ps and feel they want to give back. It is a unique volunteering experience. It is one-on-one. So a lot of volunteering programs, you're with other volunteers. This one, you're on your own with the young person driving. So it is a unique, it does require a certain skill set.
And patience.
But my volunteers are amazing. And once they're on board for years.
Yeah.
So if anyone feels that they would like that challenge,
we can lock the doors if you like, and anyone with an active driver's licence needs to have a conversation first. No, that's amazing. It's an incredibly, it's an incredible program that has now been around for such a long time, which is unusual for funded programs. So it's clearly working, and you're doing an amazing job at making sure our young people are safe drivers. That's really important. It's really important. Thank you. And our final panellist, I'm just making sure I haven't missed anyone, should be Maroondah Volleyball. So if we can pass the microphone down. Thank you for your patience. Thank you. But would you mind introducing yourselves and tell us a little bit about your organisation?
So I'm Amelia Dell. I'm from Maroondah Volleyball. We are a very large not-for-profit volleyball organisation based in Heathmont. I think we have over 2,000 members currently, ranging from about the age of 3 all the way to, I think our oldest one's 70-something off the top of my head. So we cater for anybody, everybody. We have an all abilities program as well, which is amazing.
Amazing.
And my name's Billy Jones. I'm from Volleyball Victoria. I'm really honoured to be here in general and honoured to speak on behalf of Maroondah Volleyball. They're our largest metropolitan volleyball association. They really set the bar, and I could talk for hours on some of the incredible programs, services, policy and governance initiatives that they've implemented. It was really fantastic to watch Ferntree Gully Tennis Club. I see a lot of parallels between what you're doing and what Maroondah does as well. And I think core to that, volleyball itself is an incredibly diverse and inclusive community. it's an emerging sport here in Australia, but globally it's massive. So we see across our school environments that it has an incredible ability to appeal to the broad student population, our migrant, our refugee communities that come across. It's an incredibly important sport often for them as well. And what Maroondah tends to do really well, I think, is they have an incredible core to their success is that relationships that they build with everybody, so with their community, to understand what those opportunities look like and what those needs look like, so that everyone can have that shared, enjoy their shared love of the sport, be it through playing, officiating, just being an active member of the volunteer community. And one thing that they certainly don't shirk from is looking at reducing those barriers in regards to every aspect of that, being a community member, a volunteer, a player, and officiating. We're one of those unique sports where you're actually actively expected to participate in helping to officiate the sport as well. And that in itself can really offer incredible opportunities and inclusive opportunities for the broad, volleyball community. You might have someone who doesn't play the sport at all, but they love a score sheet. So, they will put up their hand every day of the week to do a score sheet. The other thing with it, I think that it's incredibly important to sort of mention is how they've, in regards to volunteering, how they've really implemented that flexibility in regards to what that volunteer role can look like. So, understanding and appreciating that volunteering can take many forms, playing to people's strengths, playing to their life and work experiences, to really, it might be something that's just, I can help you out at the barbecue twice a year. Might be a weekly commitment, might be an annual event commitment where they're passionate, so that plays to their strengths and gives people that sort of sense of value, respect and passion.
Amazing. And can you tell us the highlight of your highlight? What do you love most about being part of this organisation?
I'm on committee, I coach, I referee, I play, I do a bit of everything. I guess watching kids come in, watching even adults come in that don't know the game but want to do something, watching them get on and play, and learning how to play and becoming successful with it is really good. We also do events that give back to our community, and one of the biggest ones for those is now our Good Friday appeal. We've done that now, I think this was our 4th or 5th year, and every year it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Everything we do that day, and this year, even the night before, we ran a 24-hour volley-a-thon for the very first time, goes to the Royal Children's Hospital. It's amazing to watch the community come out, whether they're coming to play, whether they're just coming to support the players, or whether they're just coming to support the other activities that we're running. Is phenomenal. So we've got volunteers that come out just for that event. This year we broke our record. We've got $25,432 and the very important 32 cents.
Well done. Don't forget the 32 cents. It all makes a difference.
So watching that event grow and grow and grow has been amazing. We have our own tournament that we run, that we have teams that ask us as soon as we're finished with it in September, when are we starting next year? So watching them all come back every year is amazing as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
And can I please...
Just super quick.
I just want to really celebrate that, because it's not to be underestimated the impact that Maroondah Volleyball has in regards to fundraising and giving back. There's Pink Round, Royal Children's Hospital. There's the tournaments that are incredibly inclusive and have different formats of delivery, just to, highlight to other organisations out there about what you can do and what you can and how you can give back. Even their Volley All program, it's not just about, having anybody take the court and play volleyball. They have community outreach as part of it. They have education on a specific topic each term, so that, people can come across that journey. It's a community. It's incredible.
Amazing. Thank you so much to everyone on panel 3.